Marissa here. Today's topic, clubs, golf clubs. What's in the bag? And basically I'm just going to go over, review what each club is, what it does, and touch upon clubs that are out there on the market in terms of set makeups, because when I go through my bag, that does not mean you need everything I have, especially if you're a newer golfer. They have some great sets out there that are abbreviated. They're starter sets. Just makes it way easier to make decisions when you're out practicing or playing. So try to keep it simple. I'll explain what's in my bag. I'll touch upon what's out there in the market, if you don't have clubs, what you should look for, and a little bit of club fitting and what the benefits are. So in my bag, and I've been playing for a few decades, so I'll start off with the driver. Here's my little goat. Little gift from Sarah, my friend Sarah at work. So the driver, longest, biggest club in the bag, has the biggest head. The driver is the club that you tee off with. So the very first shot or swing of a hole, this is the club you would grab. Why? Because it gives you the most distance, and you would use a tee. This is the only club you will use a tee with. Well, I take that back, because depending on the length of the hole, you may use other clubs when you tee off. So the only time you use a tee is on the very first shot of a hole. How's that sound? So the driver, longest club, biggest club, least amount of loft. So that's why we use a tee with it. And we're gonna tee it up super high. So the top of this club is at least at the belly of the ball, or equator of the ball. I don't want to get into setup because I've already covered that, but you know, this does not have much loft, so I'm going to play it more off my front foot. Right-handed golfer, inside my left heel, wider stance. Driver goes the furthest. Drivers have come a long way. Not only drivers, I mean clubs in general. Technology has improved, as with every sport that it requires equipment. Equipment has become lighter, bigger, more hitting surface. So if I hit it here or here, the ball's still gonna go, which is great. Very forgiving. So if you have clubs that are older than, I'm gonna be very generous, people will disagree with me, but if you have clubs that are older than 10 years of age, you're missing out. I would highly recommend looking at something newer. And you're just going to see the difference. You're going to gain distance, maybe improve accuracy. Yeah, why struggle? Don't have the equipment help you, not hurt you or deter you. So that was the driver. Moving along, I have lots of head covers here. Now I have one fairway wood. It's a 5 wood. Now most sets you'll see maybe a driver and a 3 wood, or a driver, a 3 wood, 5 wood. I personally dislike 3 woods, and the number of times that I need to use a 3 wood, it's slim to none. And when I do have to hit one, it's a challenging club to hit because it doesn't have much loft, like similarly to the driver, but you're hitting it off the ground. You're welcome to hit it off the tee if you don't like your driver, but off the ground, and I know a lot of my students struggle. I struggle too. So out of, say, 10 shots that I would hit the 3 wood, maybe only 2 of them that I'd be really happy with. And then otherwise, it'd be like hit or miss. And that's why I grab a 5 wood. 5 wood has more loft. Okay, so the higher the number, the higher the loft, the shorter the distance. So if you just think number one is the driver, lowest number in the bag goes the furthest. Now I have the 5 wood. It doesn't go as far as the 3 wood. It goes pretty far. But I'm so much more consistent with this, and I can hit this everywhere. I can hit it, I can even hit it like in shorter rough. So this is very versatile. I mean, I would use this on my second shot when I need distance. 5 wood, great club. I highly recommend 3 wood, no, not 3 woods, 4 woods and 5 woods over a 3 wood. It doesn't make sense. All right. And then I jump right to the hybrids. So I have 2 hybrids in my bag. It's a 3 hybrid and a 4 hybrid. What is a hybrid? So if you take a look, a lot of my, it's kind of hard to see, they're black. A lot of my students confuse these for woods. They're not woods. Now hybrids, I mean, if you look here, the woods are much larger and much longer. So fairway woods, larger head, very long. Hybrids, they're a cross between an iron and a wood. Now the reason why these were created were to replace the lower numbered irons in your bag, because the lower numbered irons are very challenging and they're not very forgiving. So in my bag, I have a 3 and a 4, so this would replace my 3 iron and 4 iron. So the length is similar to that 3 iron, 4 iron length, but the difference is the shape of the head. So the heads have a little, you know, it's like a little miniature, little mass here, not as big as a fairway wood, but maybe like half the size. This is so much more forgiving than an iron, especially with the longer irons, because, as I said, lower the number, the least amount of loft. So this 3 and 4, because of this extra mass behind here, the ball's gonna launch. And when I hit it, it's still gonna go. So when I hit an iron, and I haven't really showed you what an iron looks like, but an iron looks basically like this, okay? Hybrids, I can hit it from the rough, I can hit from the fairway, the ball goes up and it lands softly. I mean, these hybrids, when they first came out on the market, gosh, 30, probably 40 years ago, don't quote me on that, they were called rescue clubs. So what does that tell you? Everyone should have hybrids. They're so forgiving, and like I said, you can hit them from any type of lie, and when you hit it, it still goes. But remember, they're played as irons, not woods, and I think a lot of people struggle with hitting these because they're not setting up like an iron or thinking of it as an iron. They're thinking of it more as a fairway wood, which is wrong. Okay, irons. You can see 5, 6, 7, 8. See, these are all my irons here. Now, irons look more or less the same, but the thing that's going to change is maybe the loft, the thickness of the sole, and the size of the club face. So, as I mentioned earlier, the lower the number, stop and think, lower the number, the least amount of loft. So it's going to go further. The higher the loft, the higher the number, the shorter the distance. So if I kind of lay these clubs out, I don't know if you'll see, but I got a 5, a 6, a 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go into a little more detail here to explain why they go different distances. 7, 7, 8, 9. All right. So I'm going to lay them, I'm going to put them all side by side and show you what the difference is. that? See how they all kind of fan down? So this is the 5-iron. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pitching wedge would be here. So the difference between each club is a 1/2 inch in length and 4 degrees in loft. So with the varying length and loft, now what is loft? Sorry, I didn't explain that yet. And that applies to all of the clubs. The loft is the angle the club face sits. Okay, so this one is way angled. Can you see that? Ball's gonna go up. So that's loft. Okay? And on my clubs, they actually give you the loft. This is no, I'm sorry, that's not the loft. Not on these clubs. So loft is the angle of the club face. It sits. So just think 4 degrees change in each club, it's going to propel the ball at a certain launch angle. Therefore, and then along with the different lengths, that's where you get the different distances. So each club, you're going to hit it a certain distance. Now, once you become more consistent and get an idea of how far you're hitting your clubs, ideally, you're going to be hitting each club about 10 yards difference. So for example, if I'm hitting my 7-iron 150 yards on average, some days maybe 140, some days maybe a little longer. 7-iron's 150, my 6-iron will be 160. My 5-iron will be 170. Going the opposite way, my 8-iron will be 140, my 9-iron will be 130. Hope that makes sense. Can you see where I'm going? So it's 10-yard increments, going, you know, the longer the club, the further the distance, the shorter the club, the shorter the distance. When you look at it this way, it kind of makes sense. Because remember, the driver is the longest club, so it goes the furthest. All right, those are irons. And there's my pitching wedge. Well, okay, here we go. So these are irons, but they're called wedges. Wedges are the shortest clubs in your bag, and depending on the set that you own or have, it may just say P. That's your pitching wedge. Or S for sand wedge. Or G for gap wedge. So it goes pitching wedge, gap wedge, because the gap is between the pitching and the sand, and then lob, which is the highest lofted wedge on the market. Most sets will just have a pitching wedge and a sand wedge. More experienced golfers, like myself, will have 4 wedges. And that's because that's where the game matters, right there. Inside 100 yards. As we get closer to the green, as we approach the green, we need to be more accurate. We want to get that ball nice and close. So I have a pitching wedge, but I don't use it for short game. I use it more for full swing. So my 3 wedges, now I don't have letters on them. They actually have the number of the loft. So typically speaking, a 56 will be your sand. Typically. Not necessarily, but so I have a 48 degree, I have a 52 degree, and a 56 degree. And you know, each of these clubs, I hit them a certain distance, and depending on the lie, like depending on how tall the grass is, if I want to hit the ball up, I'll use the more lofted club, which is my 56. It's not just a sand wedge. That's why they don't put, well, on mine, they don't put P and S. So they're not just restricted to what they're called. If I want to keep a lower shot, or if I have the ball in the fairway, maybe I'll use my 52. The ball will go lower and it'll run a little more, or roll a little more. But the wedges are the most lofted club in your bag. These are the clubs you use around the green. As you get really close to the green, either, you know, depends on the type of grass you're in, but when you start to get close to the green, or if you're in the sand bunker, these are the clubs you're going to use, okay? And lastly, the putter. The putter, there are thousands and thousands of different types of putters on the market. It's personal preference. So the putter has a flat face. That's the common denominator. There's a flat face. All putters have one flat face, and there's a flat part to the grip. You can kind of see it there, and that's where we would place our thumbs, right down on that flat part. So this is just a blade. Some putters, like I said, they're mallets. They have like they have really bigger heads, maybe with more lines. Why? Different weighting, different feel, and maybe more visually pleasing to someone's eye, where they can see the line better to help them line their putts up. Personal preference. This is my favorite type of putter. Very traditional, simple, but I got that little alignment aid, and it feels great. And I make a lot of putts with it. So that's everything in my bag. Just to kind of do a quick recap, we got the driver. Remember, the driver, fairway woods, hybrids, which are played like irons, even though they look like mini woods. And then you got your irons, your wedges, your putter. That's everything in the bag. The maximum number of clubs you can have in your bag is 14. But like I said earlier, there are a lot of sets out in the market, especially for the newer golfer, which it makes it easy. They have made it easy for the consumer to go out and purchase clubs without having to fret too much. They're called package sets or box sets. And what that means is you can purchase everything for one price. It includes the bag, includes a driver, fairway wood, maybe one or two hybrids, a few irons, not all the irons, and then a wedge and a putter. More abbreviated, kind of a starter set. Makes it easier to determine which club to use when you're ready to play. It just makes everything easier, less overwhelming. There are a couple of things you want to keep in mind though when you do purchase a package set. Make sure, number one, that if you're a lady, you want the ladies flex, generally speaking. I mean, if you're, I'm not gonna go there, but ladies flex, which means it's a lighter graphite, a little more flexible. It's suitable for swing speeds for the average woman. So flex. Number two, length. Even though these are package sets, they are somewhat customized. So they're typically, depending on the manufacturer, they come in standard. If you're anywhere, don't quote me on this because it varies with different manufacturers. If you're anywhere from 5'2" to 5'7", 5'8", you're considered standard. If you're 5'1" and shorter, you're going to be petite. Petite is an inch shorter. All the clubs will be an inch shorter. And then going the opposite way, if you're 5'9", 5'10", taller, you would need +1. And that would actually be men's length clubs, but you want this flex. You want the women's flex. Because if you have men's clubs, they're going to maybe too heavy, too stiff. Don't take hand-me-downs. I mean, the clubs now are so affordable on the market. You can spend anywhere from, well, you can spend as little as, but then I would question the quality of the material. So I would spend anywhere from $150 to $400. And again, you know, the higher you might be, it just might be a name brand. But I would spend, on average, $200 to $300. And that includes everything. That's a small investment, you know, to get out there and start playing and practicing. And you definitely want your own equipment. And that kind of leads me to my last point of club fitting. New golfers, oh, I'm new, I don't need to be fit. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of just covered it. That is basically a fitting. It'd be called a static fitting, just based on your height, your gender, or your swing speed. But if you've been playing for a little while and you had that starter set or package set and you feel like you're outgrowing it, you're becoming a little more consistent, then I would definitely try, well, not try, I mean, for your next set, I would get club fit. I'd say more places than not do club fittings now. And what that means is they're going to have you swing your current club as a baseline and then suggest, unless you have clubs in mind that you really want to try, say, oh, I really want to try the Callaway or Titleist, or other brands. Then we would basically pull out clubs that kind of match what you have and then go from there, but newer, better technology, equipment. And what we do is we'll put you on a launch monitor. We'll have you take a couple swings. I mean, I'd say it takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to do an iron, maybe driver as well. It all depends on the person, but what the launch monitor does is it picks up all your swing specs. It tells us how fast you're swinging the club, which will help us determine which shaft to put you in. And then, of course, just watch the dispersion factor. Like one club, you may be a little more wild, where another club, you're going to see, wow, I'm like hitting everything like down the middle. So it's pretty fun. It's really exciting. I got fit for my clubs last year at the beginning of the season, and I gained 20 yards. Granted, my set from before was almost 10 years old, 7, 8 years old. So there, I'm proving my point. Older equipment. And another thing is that I don't play. So I gained 20 yards without having really put a lot of practice in or play time. It was just equipment alone. So, that just boosts my confidence. And, like with any sport, just think about you want the club to fit you. You don't want to be swinging to the club. For example, if the club's too heavy, you're going to make compensations. And it may not feel heavy, but you're going to be like, wow, why am I not following through? Or why is the ball always going to the right? Maybe because the flex of the shaft is just too stiff and you're not swinging hard enough. Why swing harder? You want to be fit to the club that you can swing with ease, efficiently, and get the optimal results. So, club fitting, do it. It's a no-brainer. It really is. And they have so many options out there. Why struggle? I think that's pretty much it. Trying to think. I went over all the equipment, club fitting, package sets. Like I said, don't take hand-me-downs. A lot of places have demos, so you can try the equipment before you even purchase it. But club fittings are great because you can try numerous clubs, and especially at my range, because you can hit outdoors, you can see the results and get a feel. That's another thing on top of all that is feel. How does it feel? One club to someone may feel different. Like this may feel awful for someone when they're swinging it. So it's all personal, what you like to look at aesthetically. And that's just, yeah, that's everything when it comes to equipment. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I have been recently certified for Callaway for club fitting. Learned a lot in terms of, just the different numbers that go into how we fit people, what to look at, actually efficiently fit someone in, shorter period of time and kind of nail it down to 1 or 2 different clubs, and then it's up to the consumer. All right, well, I'll leave it there. I hope I wasn't babbling, because I tend to babble and I don't have any feedback. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Thanks, everyone.